Hello, everybody, and welcome to this impromptu live stream. We thought last week we're not using the studio enough, so we just said let's do a live stream, and here we are. So had to come up with a project a little bit on the fly, but that's okay because it's going to be a good one, hopefully. So we're going to turn one of these garden dibbers, and I'm going to explain about different finishes and why we'd use one finish over another, and why a couple of finishes in particular are going to be particularly good for what we're doing. So yeah, so that's the project there. We've got the wood choices beech, a couple of different wood selections you could make for this. So I've used beech because it's quite rot resistant. Also, it's quite close grained, so it's not going to get dirt or anything in it, which it shouldn't do anyway with the finishes. But other good options would be sycamore, oak, and ash as well, because they're quite hardwoods. You know, you don't really want anything soft like pine. I mean, it'll probably be okay, but in terms of longevity, it's just not going to quite last as long. So I've got a blank here. This is from memory. It's about 50 by 50 mil, 56 by 56 mil, or thereabouts. The final diameter of this is going to go down to about 45, a little bit under. So we've got plenty of wood, plenty of material to work with there. Okay, I'll put those on in a minute. So I'm going to start by marking out a center on my piece of wood here. A rough center. Doesn't need to be exact because we have got plenty of material to play with here. And in terms of the centers, you can sort of use any centers for this. I am going to be turning this between centers. You can turn it in a chuck. So you have a chuck and then you use the center for support. And then when you got to the end, you could finish this side off on the lathe and then chop it off and just finish this side off by hand. But there's not enough material here that we have to worry about that, to be honest, and it's easier to not have to deal with the chuck. So we'll continue between centers. I've got a ring center on each end of the lathe here. You don't have to use those. It's just, I just find it a little bit easier. So pop that on there. And we'll tighten that in place, like so. Now I'll start off with the spindle rough and gouge. And we'll start at a relatively slow speed as well. So we're about 1000 RPM there. We'll start with the tool handle down. I'm just going to start roughing out the blank. Now, I gave myself a bit of a challenge with the other one that I turned because I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I picked a really, not a grainy piece, a piece of wood where a limb had come off. So you've got loads of funny grain in here that was a bit of a pain to turn, but we've got quite a nice even blank on here. So hopefully it should go a little bit nicer for us. So taking the corners off here, nothing too fancy. Something I didn't mention as well is if you're watching this on YouTube, which is what we normally stream on, we're also streaming this on Instagram. So
for your mum's watching on that as well.
Oh, my mum's watching on Instagram apparently. That's
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. But yeah, so we're streaming on Instagram as well for the first time. So let me know how that goes, because that hopefully will be something we'll do more often, I would like to say. So I'll just make sure the tailstock's tightened up there. And it's getting a little bit easier now. We're getting closer to round. It takes the longest time to get those corners off, really, because it's just a little bit more difficult. So that's the nice thing about using a ring sensor there. I had a little bit of, it wasn't a catch as such, but I was a little bit too aggressive with my cut, and there's a knot here as well. And rather than catching or anything going wrong, the ring sensor just spins. So it's a very safe way to do things. And now our blank's almost round. We've got a couple of flat spots on there, but we can start to turn the lathe speed up slightly now. So I'll lift the tool rest slightly. So we have been spinning that about 1,000, so we'll turn up to 1,200 to begin with. I'm going to take a nice slow cut on there. Not looking to get a brilliant finish. Just trying to remove the material for now. If anyone does have any questions, of course, at any point, then Terry is behind the camera. So, so do feel free to ask in the comments, and I'm sure he'll read them out to me. Oh, we have a question.
Hopefully that's working. Charlie asks, why aren't you using a skew? I think it was skew chisel, Nathanael.
A skew chisel, I will be using a skew chisel shortly. I find the spindle roughing gouge a little bit quicker. You can do roughing with a spindle gouge, but on a piece like this, especially when my tool rest isn't quite long enough, it's just a little bit easier to use a spindle roughing gouge, or at least I find it easier. I will use the, like I say, I will use the skew chisel in a moment to get a slightly better finish, because I don't know if you'll pick that up on camera, but the finish isn't brilliant on here at the moment. So looking at getting this down towards closer to our final diameter of about 43 millimeters. So we're not a million miles off, but we're starting to get closer. And as well, of course, I can start to shape this end down a little bit here. I'm going to turn it this way instead of this way, just because it's going to be easier, or at least I find it easier because I'm right-handed to do cut with the roughing gouge or the skew chisel even going this direction, so it's going to make it a little bit easier for me. But we can start to thin this end down a little bit as well, because we know we're going to remove that material anyway. So just taking my time, letting the tool do the work. Get some quite nice shavings off there as well. Slowly thinning that end down. And I have got a template here that I found online. There it is. Now this is helpful as a guide, but I mean, and you could follow that if you wanted, or something along those lines. But it's not critical. The key sort of thing is, when I was looking into making one of these yesterday, when I was, I'm getting an echo. Terry's working on it. Hit mute.
I'm hitting mute, it's not doing anything.
Is it? No.
That's good.
Okay, it's been unplugged. The mute button wasn't working, I'm being told. Yes. As I was saying, I was in researching making one of these and how it works. The spacing between these lines, we're going to burn these lines in a little bit with some wire, but the spacing on these lines is for different bulbs. This is obviously a tool designed for planting bulbs, if you didn't know. The further you push it down, the deeper the hole is, obviously, but different bulbs need to be at different depths. So depending on what ridge you push it down to, is suited to the specific bulb. So we've got a question?
Yeah, Stephen Madden's asking, after you finish making the dibber, do you do any gardening services? Because he needs some doing. Actually, so do I. So I'm going to first dibs on that.
I'm being roped into everyone's gardening. We are. I'm doing some gardening at home actually myself. We've since we moved in, we've not really done a lot of gardening, but we're taking the opportunity this summer. Although we haven't got any bulbs, so maybe I'll have to get some bulbs to plant with my garden dibber. So just still roughing it down now. Speaking of gardening, Jed and I moved into a new build property when I moved down to Chestnut, and I always said, I don't fancy a new build because they're they've always got tiny gardens and stuff like that, and they always have problems with them. But on the most part, it's been really good. But we found out over the last couple of weeks that the garden, although it looks nice on the surface, all nicely turfed over, it is sort of a thin layer of nice soft soil in the grass, then followed by a lot of clay and rubble, which is not ideal for gardening, but that's okay. We've been trying to make it work. So I might struggle with this to try and get into the clay. I might have to put some like a little thing on it so I can jump on it. Don't know if that's almost defeats the point of it slightly, but that's okay. Okay, so we turn the speed up now slightly because have got it completely round. We're about 1600 RPM there. I'll just take a light pass across the piece, just to try and get a nice, relatively smooth finish on there. Now, I'm going to switch now from the spindle roughing gouge over to a wide parting tool, or this is sort of a parting tool skew chisel hybrid. I'll just use that to take down the end close towards where the tailstock is. And then I'll do a cut across the face here just to get a nice, with the skew chisel, just to get a nice surface finish on here. And it's important we have really light pressure on the bevel here, because if we put too much pressure down here on the bevel into the wood, because we've got quite a long piece on here and it's not massively wide, we could risk introducing some vibration. Shouldn't be too bad because this is a fairly smooth, even piece of wood. But with that one that I did this morning, that was a real pain to try and avoid vibration on, because of all that grain in there. The second the tool hit it, started bouncing slightly, and it was a bit tricky to try and get rid of. Well, it wasn't too bad. I just, took a slow cut. Okay, so we're starting to get the shape there. Let's come back over here and we can start shaping the top. Like I was saying, this is quite good for a guide. You don't need to, unless you're trying to, repeat turn them, and you could do a template for it. But with something like this, it's not imperative. So it's just nice as a guide to get a rough shape. So switch over to the spindle roughing gouge. Not a spindle roughing gouge, just the spindle gouge, the regular spindle gouge. And starting with a closed flute so the tool doesn't skip. Just going to start putting a small cove in here. And of course this bit is going to start forming our dip in the end here. You got a question?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I should read this one out actually, because I'm not sure that I don't understand it, and I think I might be set up for something. Would this tool be called a beadon?
I don't know.
No, okay.
I might also be being set up for something here, but not as far as I know. It very possibly, unless you have one as on. But if you are, then it's unfortunately hasn't worked, because we both don't know what you're talking about.
Way too clever there, Stephen.
Oh, a bead. It's a bead. Maybe? Oh, I don't know. Possibly. You have to tell me next time I see you. Okay, so putting the cove in here. Now, if you look at the one we've got that's already finished, we've got this diameter here, and then the largest diameter of the handle bit is slightly smaller. So we know we're going to need to turn this section down smaller than this diameter. So I will grab the roughing gouge back out. I'll just take a little bit more off that diameter there. Oops. Best practice not to do that. You shouldn't move the tool rest while it's spinning. So just taking it down, getting the bulk of the material off, and as we start to get a little bit closer, to that final dimension. I'm just going to slow right down and try and get as smooth a finish as I can on there. There we go. So I'll start to put that cove back in. And I'm going to start to sort of form the top of the handle here. I've got another question.
A clarification more. Stephen says a beadon is like a large parting tool. Can we see it, please? The top camera's on at the moment.
A large parting. What, this thing? A beadon?
Possibly. I don't know.
I can't say I've ever heard that, to be honest. That's interesting. I will, if that's what it is, I will. I'm going to look into that later.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll start forming the top here. Now, we're not really worried about the finish on the left side here because that is going to be parted off. And of course, as an extension of that, we're not worried about the shape either. We just want to get that material out of the way. So just continuing to shape that round. I'm not going to make this too thin. That's probably about the limit as far as I'll go because the thinner it gets here, the more vibration is going to be over here. So we'll leave that there for now. And I will come back to this in a little bit to finalize that shape. But I'm just going to have another look at this shape to make sure we've got the right curve going down here. Because at the moment it sort of curves back out, almost, I don't know, a bit like a carrot, I guess. I don't know. But we sort of want it to be a very slightly convex curve. Another question?
Well, this beadon thing, it just keeps going on, really, basically. So Google AI says a beadon is a traditional wood turning chisel used for parting off, cutting tenons, and creating beads or convex curves. And Stephen's added that a beadon is a straight-sided French-style beadon intended for bevel-up use.
Oh, interesting.
There we are. So it's a particular type of chisel, and yeah, it's we will go away and look that up.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't heard of that. I do know that the French are very good wood turners generally, so it's it doesn't surprise me that it's a French tool. Okay, so let's do another cut on here. I'm just going to switch over to my bigger skew chisel for this, just because it makes it a little bit easier. And I've got very, very, very light pressure on the bevel here. If I push too hard, like I say, it's going to introduce vibrations, especially now we've narrowed that other end down. And of course, the better finish we get with the tool, the less we have to sand. Now, I'm not going for an exact copy of the original one that I turned. We're going to go with more of an artistic interpretation. I think that's what we'll call it. So, just sort of rough dimensions. And it's getting pretty close there. Just take a little bit more off. And you can tell we've got a nice cut going, so we're not getting shavings, we're getting sort of long, spindly strands, which is quite nice. So move that over. And I'll go back to the wide parting tool. Now, you might not be able to see this on the previous one because I hid it slightly with this burned line here, but about there, or maybe the top-down camera can see that better, about there, it starts to taper in a little bit more, so it's straight, or pretty straight from there to there, and then just that last little bit, it sort of points in a little bit, and that helps with strength as well. If it carries on to too much of a point, it risks breaking off. So that's probably going to start around there, and then just taper down slightly. So we'll start introducing that, of course. We don't want to take it down too much for the same reasons as before. So I probably will take a little bit more off that, but I'll go back up to the top for now, and we'll carry on with that. Just starting to bring that shape in a little bit more. Of course, we can make this end shorter, but we can't do a lot with bringing the material back here. So we're going to focus on this sort of sweep and this sort of shape first. Trying to get as smooth and as nice a curve on there as possible. Just trying to blend it in nicely. I'll just try and round this out a little bit more so it looks a bit more like a handle. Getting a little bit closer there. I think we're probably almost there, to be honest. Now, it was specified to me before we started that this was supposed to be a quick live stream. The last one, was it the last one we did? I think the last one we did, I did a bowl, and it was supposed to be about an hour. I think we ended up doing it for about 2.5 hours. It did overrun slightly, but that's okay.
Yeah, I've got somewhere to be tonight, so we need to keep this, to within about an hour if we can.
So almost there with that shape now, just thinning it down a little bit more at the end. I'll probably put a little bit more of a curve on that. Or rather take a little bit more out of the corner there. I'm getting a little bit of vibration, so I'll just do a couple of light cuts with very little pressure on the bevel. And that hopefully should help relieve any chatter marks that are in there and get rid of them. There we go. Okay, I think we're getting there now. So come back over here and we'll just finish off that last bit at the end. Probably use the spindle gouge for this. Just creating that small secondary point on the end there. Now, of course, we will finalise that in a little bit. Now, we can start to look at putting the lines in a moment, but we would normally want to give it a sand before we do that, and that's just going to remove any small inconsistencies. So I won't sand it super high. I could probably get away with sanding this bit to a straight up to 180 or 120 or something, but I'll start with an 80, especially for this bit here, because we have got a couple of chatter marks. So shouldn't take too long. Just removing any of the high spots in there and smoothing everything out. There we go. I'm just giving it a light touch over the main bit, just to remove any small marks, but there shouldn't really be any, to be honest, especially because we use a skew chisel on it. I'm using the net abrasive here, of course. Really handy for getting into all the coves and stuff like that, because it's so flexible. Okay, that'll do for now. That'll do for now. It's only sanded up to 120, but that'll be enough to get the burned lines in there. So pop the tool rest back up. Now, I've got a set of calipers here. These marks are 1 inch apart on this one, and from looking online, it's anywhere from 1 inch, which is about 25 centimeters, sorry, 25 millimeters. That's a big inch, 25 centimeters, to about 25 mil to 30 mil, so there or thereabouts. So I'm going to do it at just over 1 inch. And I can see, based on where this is going to go down to, that the end of the project will be about there. So I'm just going to use that, eyeball that, and sort of mark where the first mark needs to go. So it's going to be about there. Now, normally you wouldn't want to use a spindle gouge unsupported, but I'm going to use it as a almost like a scraper. And the reason I can get away with doing this is because I'm going to do a very, very light, shallow cut, and the radius of the end of the spindle gouge is going to help be the same radius as the wire that I'm going to use. Now, you can do a bevel supported cut by having the tool handle down and slowly raising the handle until it makes a cut. So I'm going to do that and we'll see how it goes. So I can see the mark there. Just going to rest the bevel on the wood and slowly lift the handle up. And there's a very, very small amount of side-to-side movement there, and that's just going to help smooth out that the radius of that arc, so hopefully our wire is going to fit in there. Now, in terms of wire that's going to do the job, normally, or in the past, I've always used a copper wire. You can use like bell wire or any single strand copper wire, basically. You can't, it's a bit trickier to use like a multi-strand copper wire because it tends to sort of fall apart. But any single strand wire, copper wire, is good. I have got some, I think it's steel wire, which is what we had lying around. It'll take a little bit longer to burn the wood because it's it doesn't transfer heat as easily, but and also it's got a higher melting point. It's better at, I'm trying to think what it is now. I think copper's got better conductivity, so it does a better job, from what I understand. So just marking these measurements. I'll probably mark them all in one go, to be honest, from now. And one at the top there. On the larger radius, of course, it's harder to see the marks, so just draw those around to make it easier to see. There we go. So now I'll take the tool rest out and I have my piece of wire here. Now, this is quite a thick wire. Normally with copper wire, you'd wrap it around a handle or something, but I'm not going to do that because it's how difficult this is to bend. You do want to be quite careful if you're doing this, because if you get it caught, not caught, but if you wrap around your hand, obviously that's going to be a bit risky, because if it gets caught or anything, then it's going to risk damaging your hand. So speed for this we want relatively high. I'll not go too crazy, but we'll just place the wire in that groove there. Hopefully you can see that. I'll move out the way for the top down camera. I'm just going to put some pressure on there. Now I'm holding the wire quite tight, but not to a point where if it tries to grab, it won't come out of my hands. So there we go. See, it's starting to go a little bit darker. I can see the smoke coming off. Of course, you do want to be careful. You know, ideally you'd wait for the dust to settle a little bit, but you shouldn't have a problem, to be honest. But just be careful of the environment you're in for this, because there is going to be a lot of heat generated. I can probably get away with the speed a little bit higher on this, which is going to do it a little bit quicker for us. Just working my way up, and of course once you've got it started, the wire's already hot there, so it's going to be able to burn the wood quicker. There we go. I'll just go back over those, see if they're a little bit lighter. Okay, now be careful touching that because that's going to be very hot. So we'll pop that to one side. And I've got this this is the end of the other one that I did, but I don't know if you can see that or how well you can see that. But we've got this line here, which is sort of quite a good line. So that had a nice even curve. This one, we've got a little bit of a light spot in the middle, and that's because the point in the middle went slightly deeper. And on this one, I didn't cut that one with a spindle gouge. I cut that one with the skew chisel. And because that's sort of a V cut, the round wire hasn't been able to get into the bottom, and it's left us with a light strip in the middle. So it is important to get the profile of these little curves as close as you can to what the radius of the wire is. Okay, so I'm going to go back over very quickly with the sandpaper. Shouldn't need a lot, especially because it's not it's not something that you're going to have to be kept. It's not something that's going to be kept in pride of place on the mantelpiece. I wouldn't have thought. It's going to probably be shoved away in a dark garage or something. But it is nice to have it's nice to take pride in what you do and make it nice, even if you're only going to see it once or twice every year. There we go.
I can smell that burning wood now.
Yeah, the smell of the burning wood's made it to Terry. So we are starting to get there. And I will start the process of passing it off. Now, we're going to look a little bit more into the finishes in a moment. But normally you would want to try and finish stuff on the lathe because it's going to make it a little bit easier. Of course, we're going to be left with two points that we can't finish if we do that. So we're going to finish it off the lathe is the plan. So I'll start to round over this end a little bit more. I'm going to get as close as I can to the center without it breaking off. And just before I get any further, I'm going to just back the tailstock off and then just very lightly put enough pressure back on it so that it starts to slow down. And what that's going to do is, instead of having lots of clamping pressure, which we needed previously to get the ring center on the end here to drive the wood, because we've already got an imprint in there, we can put minimal pressure on here and it's still going to spin, but it means that when we get down to a very small point, we've not got pressure on there compressing the wood, and it's not going to break as easily. So we should be able to go a lot narrower with this if we want to. Of course, being aware that this is held between centres, so ideally you don't want to go all the way through because it can be a bit risky. So nice and slow. Of course, there's going to be a bit more vibration as we get close to that final point. And we'll start taking it down a little bit on this side. And just using a combination of tools there, skew chisel and the spindle gouge, just try and get that down to the last little bit there. I'm going to turn the speed down just because it means if it does come off, it's not going to go very far. And you can see there, because we eased off the pressure there on the tailstock, we're down to about 2 or 3 millimeters there, and it's not coming off, it's not snapping. Whereas if you had a ton of pressure there, that would easily snap. Okay. So this is the point where it would be really helpful to have my saw with me, but I think I've left it in the other room, which is really helpful, but that's okay. No, it's all right. Let's see how it goes. I'll get as close as I can, and then hopefully if it's thin enough, I should be able to do a bit of carving on the end with my skew chisel. Very, very light pressure here because that might happen. But that's okay. I was expecting it because we turned the lathe speed down, it didn't start going flying across the room. Okay, so yeah, that's not too bad there. Now, normally you wouldn't want to do that because of the grain orientation of this piece. The grain's running this way. If you split it off at the end there, it risks tearing the fibres up into there. It risks tearing the fibres into the end of the wood because the fibres are running this way. So normally you would only want to break it off like that if it was the other grain orientation, because it's going to break across the grain. But you know, it's will be all right for this because it's not doesn't need to be perfect. So just removing the end here with the skew chisel, being very, very careful, of course. And a little tip for this is you want to make sure it's held very close into your body, because if any of you have ever done carving, you'll know that if you're sort of out here, you've not got any control, and the next thing you know, you'll slip and cut yourself. Whereas by holding the piece and the tool close into your body, you've got a lot more control. And there we go, that's almost cleaned up there. And on the other end as well. I'm sure there's some sort of specialist carving tool that'd be really good for this, but a skew chisel also works, of course. I'm sure Colwyn wouldn't be happy to know that I'm using his signature skew chisel to do some carving, but hopefully.
We're sending a copy of the video later.
No, I don't think we need to do that. I don't think I mind. Okay, so there we go. That's it basically, other than the finishing, which is arguably the most important bit, dare I say. Obviously, it's slightly different design. The original one's a bit longer and a bit skinnier. This one's a bit chunkier. Both are nice. That one's for big bulbs, I guess. That one's for deep ones. A tool for every use. Because I'm sure these are going to be something you're using every day in the garden. Okay. Which way does that go? Most of you probably won't know this because it was a club live stream, but I'm told that Terry had quite a funny moment. Terry had quite a funny moment on Tuesday when he went to take a piece of wood off the lathe, pushed the tailstock down to release it, and all the bolts just fell out from underneath. I wasn't here to witness it, but it did sound very funny.
Chuckle, 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 chuckle.
No, they're all laughing. Okay. So a couple of different options we've got for finishing here. Now these two are really going to be the best options for this. We've got the hard wax oil and the finishing oil. Now, both of these products are quite durable. There are other finishes that you could use on this. You could probably use acrylic gloss lacquer. You could probably use the melamine lacquer. That wouldn't be a problem. But these are sort of going to be the most hard wearing and the best suited for the job, basically, because they're quite water resistant as well. And the finishing oil does have UV inhibitors in it, so it's going to be really good if this is stored in sort of sunlight through a shed window. So I'll have to do this slightly differently than I might do normally because we have only got a lathe bed to work on, but that's okay. I am going to be using some extra safety cloth, but that's okay.
We keep talking about making a tabletop to go on top of the lathe bed. One day we'll do it.
We're too busy making garden dibbers. Okay, let's do the finishing oil first, shall we? I'll put this over to one side. Now, finishing oil is quite a thin oil. I'd say it was definitely thinner than the hard wax oil. That does mean it's going to have slightly better penetration, but it is, because of how thin it is, it's not particularly that of a high build finish. So it is a high build finish compared to some others, but not as much as the hard wax oil. But that basically means you need more coats of it. Now we'll do this original one in finishing oil. And you can see already that's really starting to bring out the colour. You can pretty much, I don't want to say unlimited, but you can pretty much do as many coats as you want of the finishing oil, because it's not massively thick. You're not really going to run into that many problems. The more coats you go on there, the shinier it's going to get. But anything more than about 3 coats, you're not really going to get any more protection. Sort of 3 is the maximum protection. Then any more than that is just is more for visually, because it's going to reflect more light because you've got a thicker coat on there. I know of some people who've used 20 or 30 coats of this. I don't know if Terry knows, if Terry's heard about this, but I know people that use like 20 coats of this to get like a mirror shine on wood, because it builds up to almost a plastic-like surface on the surface of the wood, which will reflect a lot of light.
You should get some. You should get quite a bright finish after sort of like 6, 7, 8 coats, quite honestly. But yeah, 30 very thin coats, probably a little bit of overkill. But if that's using more product, I shouldn't complain. And if it gives you the finish that you want, then that's perfect. Yeah, no problem with that.
Of course, it does require you to have enough time to do 30 coats, which a lot of us don't, I'm sure. Now, the finishing oil and the hard wax oil, they've got a solvent in them, obviously. And as the product gets older, that solvent evaporates. Now, not so much with the finishing oil, with this finishing oil, because it's almost full. So there's a very small amount of air in the tin. But with the, I'll take that off because that's just nearly fallen off on me. But But with the hard wax oil, I've only got about that much left in the tin there, and there's a lot of air left. So even if I seal the tin completely, so it's completely airtight, there's still a lot of air in there. And what's going to happen is, over time, the solvent from the hard wax oil is going to evaporate into the air in the tin. And then when I go to next use it, the second I take the lid off, all that solvent evaporates. And because there's less solvent in it, the oil at the bottom starts to go thicker. Terry's got I don't know where he's put it now. Terry's got a very good example of there it is.
Of what happens to it. And what also tends to happen is that the air reacts, the oil reacts with the air that's trapped in the can. So although there's nowhere really for the solvent to go, some of it will migrate into the air that's in the can. It's more an oxidization process where the oil thickens up and dries because of exposure to air, and because it's the air in the can is sufficient to get it to have this process, and it will start to get thicker and thicker and eventually become unusable.
There you go, from the expert himself. So because of that, we've got this stuff called air purge spray. But basically what this does is it's an inert gas. So you spray a little bit of that in the top of the, perhaps a touch too much, but you spray a touch of that in the top of the can. Huh?
Give it 30 seconds.
Yeah, give it 30 seconds. I was just thinking that. You spray it in the can, and it basically expands slightly, and it will fill up the top of the can. That's why I got to wait a second, which I was reminded there. And it means that there's no air in the can for the solvent to come off into, or for it to start solidifying. So
it'll also leave a very thin layer of an inert gas in there. So if there is any air trapped still in the can, which is unlikely, but it will sort of form a barrier against it so that it doesn't go off so quickly. It really is very, very effective. And Nathanael got that right, I'm pleased to say. That if you've got a fairly full can, it's moot whether or not you actually need to spray it if there's not that much air in the can. But if you do, and there's no problem with it, be very careful, because it is a fairly strong jet of gas going in there, and it can, if you're not careful, push the oil out as well along with the air, and you could end up spraying it everywhere. So be careful with a fairly new can.
Yeah, that does sound like a little bit messy. Yeah. While I've got it here, this is one of Terry's party tricks for his demonstration, but I won't spoil too much. So this is hard wax oil.
Yeah.
Oh yes. There was a label on it. That's why.
There was no. Yeah, this is really high tech. A really high tech display of how well the air purge spray works.
So I found these were from 2022. So these have been 4 years these have been sat around. This is exactly the same product, both hard wax oil. This one has had air purge spray in it, and this one hasn't. And you ready? This is a good bit. I'll do that. This is obviously still liquid. This not quite so much. It has completely set up in the can. If you leave it for long enough on its side in the warm, it will start to move. But that's what happens basically in the container. And even if I've seen people say seal the can and put it under water so air can't get into it, or put the lid on and then flip it upside down or something so there's no air that can get in. But the air's already in the can that does the damage. That's what the problem is. These have been sealed for 4 years with no air getting into them, and it's still, obviously the one with the air purge spray has not solidified.
I think they've just had their 4th birthday, actually. The date that we did it is written on the top of the can, of the jar. Probably see it easier.
19th of the 5th. 14th of the 5th?
Yeah, something
19th
like
of the
that.
5th.
It was sometime in May, I'm sure. The other one's got it written on the top, hasn't it?
No, 21st of the 5th, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, they've just turned 4.
There you go. So if you want to make your hard wax oil last, or any oil actually, other than the food safe, of course, because that's not got a solvent in it, so that doesn't go off. So going back to this, we're going to use the hard wax oil on this one. Now I've got the gloss. I'd probably use the satin normally for something like this, just because if it's an outdoor sort of more don't want to say rustic, but if it's more of a piece that's going to be in use, I wouldn't be worried about getting a sort of showroom high gloss shine on it. But we've got the gloss for now. It's only going to go gloss after a sort of the second coat, really, or at least in my experience, because the first coat is mainly absorbed into the wood. Although, of course, it is, you can see there it's slightly glossy, although that will be mostly because of the solvent hasn't evaporated and it's not dried yet. The other product, of course, that you don't need to use the air purge spray on is the lemon oil. And the lemon oil is, it's a very, very high solvent content. It's over 90%, 95%.
It's more that it's very low build, so there's not sufficient solids in there because that's how it's designed to work. It's more oil than solids. It doesn't oxidize in the same way as things like the finishing oil, Danish oil, and hardback soil would.
Yes, that's why you wouldn't need to use the air purge spray on the lemon oil either. You'd use it on the tung oil, would you?
I don't know about tung oil, quite honestly. I've never really used it. I don't know if that oxidizes in the same way. Anyone out there use tung oil and had it go off in the can?
I've used tung oil is what I used to use originally, and I think I've never had it do the same. I never had it do that on me, but I don't think I ever had it that long. I don't know. Anyway, so there we go, and you can see from that actually. I'll move it over to the side in a second so you can get the top-down camera. I will spray some air purge spray in here actually while I've got it open. And this is my tin as well, so it's I'm making it last. not that I wouldn't otherwise. I'll leave that for a sec to.
Because the boss is too mean to let him have another one.
Yeah, so there we go. That's the two. Those are the two finishes. Now these came from a bit more. I can't say. I've not got a screen. That's it. Yeah. So these two pieces of wood came from next to each other in the tree. They were like that from the same piece of wood. Now this piece had a bit more heartwood in it, which is why it was harder to turn. But that's the one I did this morning. And that darkness is down here has come from the heartwood, but you can sort of see at the top that's sort of the same wood, same color, and you can see sort of the different colors that the oil has made the wood. And I think this one's slightly darker because the oil's penetrated slightly more because the finishing oil's thinner. And this one, which is the hard waxed oil, because it's slightly thicker, it's not darkened the wood as much because it's more of it sat on top. Yeah, have we got any questions?
Someone's just said, surely you get free dibs, Nathanael. I've had to ask for an explanation of what free means, but
free. There's nothing free around here. I'll tell you that much. Oh, I'm getting a bad face. No.
I mean, it's true, but you don't have to tell everyone. No, not too many questions. I've been reading them out as we go through. Stephen asked if there are any evening meal tickets left, and yeah, there are about 4 or 5, I think. So he's just put an order in for one of those. So if you come into the weekend and you want to do the Saturday night, then do get your tickets soon because they are going to sell out. Yes.
Speaking of while I'm waiting for you to ask any questions you might have, I can use this as a good opportunity to plug the Weekender. I don't know if you can see the big banner here, but and also my shirts.
Hang on, if I change the screen.
If you change the
camera,
screen,
there you go.
Though I've got a big banner here and my shirt. So, and if you haven't already noticed, you are seeing 3 of me because I am one of the headline demonstrators at this year's Weekender, which is quite exciting. Or at least I'm excited. I'd like to think that you guys will be too, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But myself and three other very prestigious and very good wood turners. Well, maybe I won't include myself in that, but we're all going to be on the main stage up in Doncaster, 29th and 30th.
Yeah, the dates are on the thing, mate.
Are they? I should know, really. I don't think they're not. The dates aren't on it.
Yes, they are. can see it through.
Where?
First line, under plus supporting acts and special guests.
Oh yeah. Oh, you need to put that a bit bigger, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We'll do that
Next time. Oh well. Anyway, 29th and 30th of August. It's you don't want to miss it. It's going to be really good fun. We've got a couple of exciting things lined up, including a turn off where the demonstrators are going to be going in a friendly competition, which me and a couple of other young members of the emerging turners did a couple of years ago at Canterbury. Was it Canterbury? It wasn't Canterbury. It was Spalding.
No, it wasn't there either. It was Swindon.
No, it wasn't Swindon. It wasn't Swindon.
No, it's Spalding. You're right.
Spalding. It was a Spalding.
It's all right. Too many weekenders. I say I can't keep up with it.
But we're going to do that with the demonstrators this year. So I think Terry's putting me up against Les, which is going to be it should be good fun.
It's not really a competition.
No.
It's just it's a bit of fun. We're not going to embarrass anyone by announcing a winner. It's just going to be just a bit of fun. See if these people can really do it up against the clock.
These people, what are you trying to say?
Lucy, why 10 years time? I'm not going to be around in 10 years time doing this. So yeah, Lucy said she might get to a weekender in about 10 years time.
No, come to this one, it'll be good.
There's going to be lots going on. We've got a small traders hall with quite a few demonstrators, quite a few traders in there now. We've got some new faces coming in this year, so that's going to be quite exciting. We've got a few new clinicians coming in, a few new sort of support acts taking part. So we're always grateful to them for giving up their time and coming along, supporting us. So there's lots going on. Lucy says when the kids are old enough to be left on their own. Well, depending how old they are, Lucy, bring them along. You know, we are actually doing free tickets for under 16s. And I think I would like to, depending how old they are, I'd like to think they'll enjoy it. We do have a few kids come along. So, that's not an excuse.
I'll be there as well, so you don't want to miss that.
People will be asking which day Nathanael's going to be on. And
we're
not sure if they want to see him or avoid him, quite honestly. Lucy, there's 6 and 7. We had the very first weekender we did. We had a young girl, Augustus, come along. She was August. That was the name. That was it. Augustus is our delivery driver, and I think she must be about 7 or 8. So anyway, maybe another time, Lucy. We'll be around for a while longer doing this.
Poor Lucy's getting picked on her. She's.
Well,
I said poor Lucy's getting picked on her. She's getting a direct sales pitch for the weekender.
No, I just wondered why. All right, I'm going to stop there then. So, any final questions about either today's demo or the weekender we can deal with for you now?
There is a live stream, of course, as well. If you can't make it in person, then you can watch the live stream.
If you haven't had enough live streams for the year, then we do live stream and record the whole thing. So the whole event is recorded. We broadcast it live, so you can tune in and watch it if you want, or you can watch it afterwards. And we do sell tickets for that as well. And we put a lot of time and effort into the live stream to make it as informative as we can. We try and make sure there's very, very little time when there's nothing going on, because obviously there are breaks in the demonstrations, but we lay on other stuff for that as well. So the live stream is non-stop. There's about 15 hours of it in total. So it's a lot of organisation and a lot of work. So that's always an option for you. Nathanael, anything you wanted to say before we close down?
No, I don't think so, other than I better get doing some gardening.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone who's joined us this afternoon, and for the questions and for taking part. It's been good fun for us. I hope you've enjoyed it. Now we've cleared out the studio, we're going to try and use it a little bit more, so watch out for us. There will be a few more coming up. All right. Thank you very much. We'll say goodbye and see you very soon. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.